Well, the scientists say the mechanisms of obesity and muscle function in cardiovascular disease have been well reviewed. First, excessive fat accumulation promotes the excretion of pro-inflammatory factors, including but not limited to interleukin-6, TNF-alpha, and interleukin-1, which directly damage the myocardial tissue. So we know that fat is an endocrine organ releasing pro-inflammatory adipocytokines, like I just mentioned, that directly damage the heart. So we know that excessive fat or fat mass is problematic in terms of increasing your risk for heart disease. And in corollary, how does changes in muscle tissue, or increases specifically in muscle tissue by way of resistance training and possibly increasing more protein, protect the heart? Was the scientists say that muscle tissue acts also as an endocrine organ, releasing myokines. These myokines have been shown to support the metabolic function of the cardiomyocytes, the cells of the heart, and they also release myokines that support the functioning of the vascular endothelium. So we know the endothelium is a functional unit. It's the interior lining, the interior pipe, if you will, of your various vessels within your cardiovascular system. And the endothelial tissue can become dysfunctional in cardiovascular disease. And it's also dysfunctional, by the way, fellas, in erectile dysfunction. Endothelial dysfunction is linked with erectile dysfunction. So weightlifting can actually help support the health of that. And these myokines can actually reverse some of the damaging remodeling that can occur in the progression of heart disease in the cardiovascular system itself. And they go on to say that overactivation of the sympathetic nervous system might increase risk for cardiovascular disease. So excessive aerobic training, cardio training, 100-mile bike rides and marathons and all these things, while they may be deemed healthy, they are a source of sympathetic nervous system stress that is unequivocally linked with cardiovascular disease. Here's a study that was conducted in South Korea recently involving 3 million subjects. And what they found is that increases in lean, fat-free mass muscle tissue was associated with reduced cardiovascular events. And they also find that increases in body mass, presumably from increases in fat, were also associated with increased risk for cardiovascular events. So essentially, this study involving 3 million people found similar findings to this study in China. So we have evidence that corroborates here, and we know now that there is a greater increased risk when it comes to having a heart attack for losing muscle compared to gaining fat. I think that is the takeaway here. And, we can look at the hazard ratios of 3.7 for loss of muscle greater than 8% over the course of 5 years versus gain in fat mass more than 2%. And that hazard ratio was only 2. And so essentially what this finds is we need to resistance train. We need to support and prevent age-related muscle loss known as sarcopenia. And these things are not disseparate. Fat mass gain or changes in body composition is also linked with muscle loss. We know that there's this whole phenomenon known as osteosarcopenic obesity, where people gain fat, particularly visceral fat, they start to lose bone and muscle at the same time. It's this triad, and this is quite common. And so this is why we should support metabolic health, normal glycemic function, reducing glycemic variability, having glycemic variability and blood sugar levels that are all over the place, fosters a metabolic environment that actually favors both fat gain and muscle loss.
DoctorsToTrust.com, the world's #1 site for short annotated nutrition videos, 100% free.